And welcome back to another episode of the Pious Patriots Show, where we hold on to our guns and our religion. I'm Justin Spate, your host.
And I'm Paul Rowe.
And I'm Alex Hong.
It's fitting that this is our second episode because today we're going over the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. So, why do we have the Second Amendment? Well, there's two good reasons for that. One is self-defense, and two is the defense against government aggression, especially when the government becomes tyrannical. And today we're going to talk about both the secular and Catholic perspectives of each. So I'm going to turn it over to Paul right now because he has a really good explanation for why self-defense with the Second Amendment is very vital to our survival.
With regard to the Second Amendment, or with regard to legitimate defense, the Catechism says, "The legitimate defense of persons and societies is not an exception to the prohibition against the murder of the innocent that constitutes intentional killing." And here's a quote from Aquinas. "The act of self-defense can have a double effect, the preservation of one's own life and the killing of the aggressor. The one is intended, the other is not." That's the end of the quote from St. Thomas Aquinas. Then it says, "Love toward oneself remains a fundamental principle of morality. Therefore it is legitimate to insist on respect for one's own right to life. Someone who defends his life is not guilty of murder, even if he is forced to deal his aggressor a lethal blow." And then here it says, "Legitimate defense can be not only a right, but a grave duty for one who is responsible for the lives of others. The defense of the common good requires that an unjust aggressor be rendered unable to cause harm. For this reason, those who legitimately hold authority also have the right to use arms to repel aggressors against the civil community entrusted to their responsibility." And so clearly we have this distinction in the Catechism between murdering people and killing as an act of self-defense or defense of others who are innocent. And we see this distinction in the different words used for killing in Hebrew. For example, in Exodus chapter 20, verse 13, when it says, "Thou shalt not kill," the word is actually ratzak. That is, the word for kill is ratzak. And that includes murder and some other things as well, but it is certainly not all killing. So,
Right.
Actually, the translation "Thou shalt not kill" is a bit misleading. There are other translations that say things like "Thou shalt do no murder," that are more on.
Right. It's basically murder is the unjust taking of a life, whether killing is permitted because it is not intended, such as in self-defense. You're not intending to kill someone in self-defense. The purpose of self-defense is to defend one's own life. When you're doing self-defense, you're not saying, "Oh boy, here's my chance to kill someone." That would be murder. But more of, I value my own life and my family and whoever I'm trying to protect, and this is how I'm going to stop it. Now, the church values and condones the most peaceful ways be taken first as possible, but it's very hard to do, especially in certain situations. When, like, say a robber comes in, has a gun, you only have like a few seconds to react, so there's not really a lot of time to take that in. But perhaps he doesn't have a gun yet, so maybe scare him, say, "I'll shoot you if you come in closer," and then if he draws his weapon or advances, then you can probably take the next step, which is shoot him or continue to talk to him or whatever. It all depends on the situation. There's like all things, it's very situational, but try and keep it in mind to take the most peaceful path before you take any action, is what I'm trying to get at.
Right. And a state executing a serial killer is also, in a way, protecting the people against that man, because he might be a scourge upon people if he were to somehow escape. So that would be a proactive move by the government to protect the people.
Right. We're not saying that there's no chance of him having redemption because there's always that chance. You don't know. God could always touch them in a certain way. But at the same time, if they're continuously like escaping jail or if they're always intending to hurt someone for some reason, then it's okay because they're clearly out to do no good, and you have the right to stop them from doing that.
And part of the idea behind the death penalty also is to act as a deterrent against other people who would want to commit murders
Right. Now,
and other crimes like that.
now
that are
before we
really
get too
serious.
much on that topic, let's, which will actually be on a future episode, so stay tuned. Alex has some good information on what happens when citizens don't have the Second Amendment to protect them from a tyrannical government.
Yeah. So a lot of the leftist ideologies would say that gun control works and that it would help reduce crime and like government wouldn't abuse that, but control is actually written history, and you can see its fruits in the regimes of Hitler and Stalin and Mao Zedong. So I have some notes about Hitler's employment of gun control. So in 1931, the German government started registering guns in the name of public safety, and in 1933, the party under Hitler used these records to disarm political opponents, Jews, and other undesirables. So they were able to use mass seizures of weapons from these undesirables. And in the following 5 years, these undesirables were soon put into concentration camps and shipped away. And yeah, that's an example of how gun control was used by the government to, encroach upon an unarmed population so that they can't really fight back against the policies.
Now, when Hitler took away the guns, did he take away all of them from all the citizens, or from just Jews,
It was Jews, political opponents, and other undesirables. Gypsies.
So basically, if you're pro-Hitler, you can have a gun?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, what we've learned is that a lot of times governments will allow guns to certain people in a measure to get rid of the undesirable people. In this case, like you just mentioned, the Jewish people. So it doesn't have to be a complete, what do you say?
Complete disarmament of the entire population.
Right, for it to be a tyranny. The fact that he took it specifically from Jews, they couldn't fight back, and pretty soon they were unable to leave the country, and even if they did, Hitler probably found them and put them in a concentration camp anyways. So it left them very defenseless. So it's very important to make sure that you have that right so the government doesn't feel like they don't have to fear its citizens. There has to be a healthy respect of citizens and government. Right. If there's not, that's when tensions occur. And we're not saying to disrespect the government, but there should be certain balance where the citizens respect the government and the government respects its citizens.
And the government really ought to be put under a certain amount of pressure to respect citizens' rights.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways of ensuring that respect is having a citizenry that's armed.
Right.
Yeah, and I actually have a quote that falls into that from Mao Zedong, the communist ruler of China from 1949 to 1976. He said, "All political power comes from the barrel of a gun. The Communist Party must command all the guns. That way, no guns can ever be used to command the party." And he issued that statement in November 6, 1938.
Which was 4 days before November 10th, 1938, when Hitler issued an official law that explicitly stated that the Jews could not own guns. Which is, it's a coincidence probably, but I think that's interesting. That was within just a few days. Yeah.
I guess it's the year of, when the evil started.
There's plenty of evil in.
That's true.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. There's definitely a lot of people that year.
Connection there.
Yeah. So, gun control indirectly led to the Holocaust in a way.
It wasn't the complete. It was a an important factor, but it's definitely not the only cause.
It facilitated the
Right.
Holocaust
Yeah,
because
it made it easier.
Which is why I said indirect.
it gave a guarantee to the Nazis that when they entered into Jewish homes to take
Right.
people
So
away,
basically, if they
that
had
they
them,
couldn't
they
be
could
opposed.
shoot the officers trying to come in and then try and escape the country and buy them some more time. But here it was like a total takeover where they were just able to come in with the government had their own guns and they were defenseless, so they had little to no resistance. So
Right.
and the Jews also didn't know what to expect at the time, so they probably didn't know how bad it was going to be, so they
Probably
didn't
not.
fight as much as they would have had they known beforehand how bad these camps would have been. So that was just one of the factors, but nonetheless it was an important factor that could have made a difference between a couple million lives, 1,000 lives, we never know, but every life saved would have been important.
Yep.
Yeah, and these are the fruits of gun control that I was talking about. It gave the government opportunity to get rid of political opponents.
Now, when a government becomes tyrannical, two things it will always take first: religion and then guns. Religion, because it's an idea that people will die for, and if it's often religion is against a tyrannical government unless the religion is of the government. So usually the two are opposed. So they try and get rid of the religion to get any dissenting ideas out of the way so they can have complete control. And the other thing is the people who have these ideas are usually, ironically, gun owners because they know the value of holding on to their religion and other ideas before the government takes over. So they're trying to defend their faith and other ideas and their freedom as well, because it's not good to not be free even if you stick with your faith.
Right, and atheistic regimes especially went to they're enemies of religion because religion recognizes, like we were saying, yeah, of course if it's a religion of the state, that's different. But religion recognizes a higher power, that is a power that's
Right.
higher than the state. It recognizes God as authoritative. Whereas if you have no religion or a religion of the state, then the state ultimately is the final authority on everything.
Right. So speaking of having no religion, recently there's been a lot of massacres, and these are just really, really terrible things, and my heart goes out to the families who have suffered through it. And I just want to say it affects all of us. The fact that even though I haven't personally experienced them, I hope I never will, God willing, and hopefully He'll stop future ones. But it affects us all because we have to be afraid of going out to movie theaters, churches now, basically anywhere in public, and that builds our anxiety as a country and causes more. So there should be some gun control, which we'll discuss in a few minutes, of some ideas to help maybe limit that, but also say that propose that these also happen more commonly in areas where there's people who have no direction in their lives. For example, Bin Laden and some other people who have done these things have had a lot of wealth even, or lived in a good society at the time. I mean, Bin Laden was a millionaire, or his family was, and he took that money because he had no purpose in his life, and he started Al-Qaeda, or I'm not sure if he started it, but he helped facilitate it more than it was at the time. And basically what he did is he took it and used his act of terror to give himself purpose. So a lot of times they use these things to give themselves purpose and meaning in life. However, the irony is they don't see any purpose and meaning in life other than just living and dying, or eating, sleeping, So there's no real point to life, so it gives them some purpose or something to be remembered for. But no one's going to remember that. I mean, they're going to remember those who were heroes, but not them, I think, in the long run. So I would say to those people would be, I would, honestly, because it's hard, I'm having a hard time speaking because it's a pretty hard topic to speak about and so sad, is the fact that if you know someone like that, I would encourage you to, first off, don't let them get a gun or any mass weapon or something, and two, make sure that they have faith. maybe seek counseling, get the anger out of their hearts, because you get, if they have an anger, they're probably going to use it, and it won't be good. And just go to church, find God, let God into their lives, and if they have God, then it gives people purpose. So ironically, the people who have God in their lives are probably the most safe gun users, because they actually have a purpose in life and no responsibility, and to show what the meaning of life is, and have respect for life, and use only guns when necessary, and they don't go out and actively kill people, right?
Right. And I think what we're really seeing here is that the problems that are at the heart of these massacres.
And even in ISIS, people join ISIS because they have no meaning in their lives, and something like ISIS is like, oh, this big push thing that's making a difference, and so it sees as if they can be a part of it. And I'm making it sound good right now, but it's not, because they're massacring people, but that's what they see.
Right, and the problems that at the heart of that are really at the root of the issue are much deeper than anything that gun control could prevent. It's
Right,
not just
yeah.
that people have weapons; it's that people have these much deeper problems. Things like having no meaning in life,
Right.
things like that, or thinking that they don't have any meaning in life.
So I would reach out to those people, because they're suffering, and they need to be helped. So definitely if you know someone like that, please talk to them. Try and get them into religion, especially Catholicism, because it's the best religion ever, and
the only true religion.
the only true religion. Because you'll have the fullness of the faith in Eucharist, which we'll talk in future episodes as well. But definitely, if they have God in their lives, then they'll have purpose, and these things won't happen, and then we won't need gun control, because people with guns will have a meaning in their life and only use it to defend when someone else doesn't respect life.